Just reveling in the presence of a back-to-back VCT Americas winner. Not much of nothing else besides that.
And no, I'm not. It's not much, man. I mean, it's cool, but I'm just another person just doing their job.
No, 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 no. I'm not gonna let you keep doing this. I mean, you deserve this. I mean, you deserve to be called that kind of person. You know, back-to-back winner. Nobody else has done that in the history of VCT America, save for, of course, this G2 team. We're just gonna do it like this. No introduction needed, man. Josh, man, congrats on the victory, man. A well-deserved achievement, given the team's trajectory in these past few weeks, and especially coming off of your bounce back showing earlier on in the lower bracket. So, I mean, in a general sense, what are you feeling? You know, what's going through your mind? How are you feeling? What's the emotions and everything else beyond that?
I mean, the past 2 days it was like relief, especially the EG one because that qualified for Masters Toronto. Then the MIBR game was the lower final, and we qualified for EWC. So the biggest the stressors were off our backs a little bit. Um, and now it's just like I'm just happy the boys pulled through. I was so proud that they were able to really respond to all the adversity that came across. I've been telling in all the interviews, I've been asking a lot more from the players because like it's very easy to just kind of fall over and die here. Like it's very easy. There's all the excuses that we have. Um, and the other team played so well. Every team that we played, they played really, really well. They always tested us to the limits. And there wasn't a comfortable victory. Even when we thought there would be a comfortable victory today, like a 2-0, I'm like, all right, let's just get this like map three. They, of course, like some of our like play fell off, and Sentinels was able to take a map from us and like really, really push it home. And that woke us up, and we closed it out on the map that we thought we should have won the last time we played against them on a set.
Hmm.
But this time, like we showed a little bit different. So again, just very happy that I pulled it off, or the team pulled it off.
You know, in a lot of ways, this was probably the most eye-opening experience that this team has shown to the rest of the fans. Because, like, up until this point, it's been mostly like smooth sailing on the domestic side, winning in kickoff. You know, having a pretty comfortable regular season, and it wasn't up until you guys faced Sentinels in that first occasion in playoffs, in which now we're seeing like a different side of this team. You know, facing adversity. What's the situation like when you guys face actual adversity like this? And I mean, yeah, you guys underwent that in that first match against Sentinels, and then even at times when you guys were like facing against likes of EG later on after that, I mean, there was a chance that you guys might not have even made a
Yeah.
Masters Toronto qualifying for that. And so, like, when you look at this team and you see this kind of version, a version that I would say hasn't really been kind of delved into a lot these days. What does that say about the overall unity of the team and the tenacity that you guys bring to the table when you guys are put into a corner?
I think I think there's no question of our like tenacity or perseverance, our fighters mentality, because that's the culture that I've been like trying to set in this team. I realize that's a very big factor in making sure you can clutch those have clutch performances at the high stakes and the biggest stages, right? Um, and we're still on our journey. Honestly, this is just one step in our journey towards champs. Hopefully that, and then like Masters Toronto is another stop, like another chance to prove ourselves. And there's no guarantee that any of this will work out, of course, um, but we can always uphold the standard of just having this strong mentality and just always like never giving up, always trying to put your all in the game and making sure like you keep a good standard of play that you want to play. And a lot of my message today was just like, yo, let's just play some good Valorant. All right, round by round, you got to work at it. You can't be lazy in this game. It's really demanding from the players. It's why like we slip up rounds is because there's so many factors you got to think about. The other team plays really, really well too, and so everyone's trying to counter each other, and like they're making plans, we're making plans, and sometimes the best plans like uh, work, but it's got to be on time. So there's a lot of stressors in this game. Um, Not to mention the nature of this back to back days, long days. It's not just these 3 hours of games. We got to show up early. We got press after. There's a lot more obligations as a player, as a team, to do this, and like just yeah, I mean, like you got to have the right like stuff up here to make sure you can perform at the highest level, um, day to day. So yeah, I think hopefully we showed to the rest of the scene like there's no question of that. And honestly, the biggest problems would be with ourselves, like trying to keep that up. Um, yeah, like we just got to make sure like this is a new habit that we can get to, and um, we don't like lose the standard.
Mhm.
So hopefully I can keep this going.
Yeah, like amidst your conversation about like just sort of like having to have the team stay united amidst these kinds of difficult situations, it kind of brings about also the possibility of like a player, or more so like some players within the team, to not feel like their normal selves. And I mean, that point was kind of like encapsulated once Valen like answered a question from Rib in the post match interview about how like he had to kind of like mentally reset, and you kind of chipped in to just kind of like have a conversation with him, helped him regain his focus, and go from there. And he kind of mentioned that as like one of the biggest reasons why he was able to perform to the usual level, to the normal level, in these later stages of playoffs. And so for you, when you kind of look at players like Valen, players like Joggimo, players like Jonah Pete, Trent, Leaf, be in their funk, in these kinds of situations, how good does it must feel for you to then kind of like give them that reset and then look at them perform to what they are always shown.
I'm just happy they responded so well. Some of the, especially that loss against Sen, and then like going to these games, even though they were really close, we won still. But like a lot of tough talks had to be had. Like if we want to make it through this weekend the way we wanted to, you can't do anything to, um, like anything you would regret. Like, and what I mean by that is like, oh man, I should have called it this way. Oh, I should have told Trent to move this way. We should have double swung this, or like, oh, we should have played this situation like that. Like, I don't want my players to regret anything. So that was like my main message. Like, regret minimization is like a mental model, to my players. Like, yo, like say what you need to say, be assertive, be leaders, like in your situation. I think in this game you have to be somewhat of a leader in every moment, because like at any point somebody has more information than everybody else, right? It's a game of imperfect information. Generally the IGL should do its best to coordinate and all those moments, and that's what I talked to Jake about, or Valen, to make sure he takes care of the macro and the micro. But the players as well, like they know the theory. We went through VOD review. We know how to play these situations, and if they recognize the situation, and what's they should be calling the best play they know, right? And don't let disaster happen, right? Like you gotta step up. So yeah, I mean, it feels like every game we relearn that lesson. Like I was hoping that maybe it would just be habitual at this point, but I realize it's a really hard thing to do, to always just try to be in the driver's seat. And yeah, I mean, like we're tired, we're exhausted. We went through a lot, so like the conditioning is getting to us a little bit. But yeah, eh,
Well, at the very
happy
least,
happy for the players.
you have roughly a month of preparation, kind of like rest to focus from being in VCT Americas and now going over to Canada and facing off against the rest of the other teams. And like still though, before kind of move on to the future and the expectations for Toronto, I gotta ask you just sort of like the accomplishment itself about being the first team to win back-to-back titles. Nobody else has been able to do that. Sure, we've been had first-time winners, but we've been able to see a repeat winner. And so, like for yourself, you've been the coach, you've been a part of this project for the better part of a few years, and also interesting to see like how you fared before you joined the guard and G2 and all that stuff. I still remember those times in NRG and how you kind of like looked at that tough situation. And you compare that to now, in which you are leading what I would say is like the most dominant team in VCT Americas, historically speaking. um just what does that mean to you? You know, what does that say about yourself as a coach, as an individual, and a contributor to a project like this?
I mean, it's hard to be great without the greatness of other people around you. So it's just to me, it's like being in the right situation. I recognize like how special of an opportunity this is. The players are so receptive of like the new ideas that come with. They're very coachable. The organization helps a lot, and like both organizations I've been in, with the guard now G2, um, they've always like helped in at least the competitive ops. I mean, like some might say like the guard fallout was kind of tough, but still like within the team, like I was able to run the show, So and even now, so like now I've expanded staff a little bit to onboard Anders and Peter, Shaq, right? Um, and getting their involvement, and like shout out to them for helping and contributing for this win. Can't forget those two. um, yeah, I mean, like it just feels like I feel confident in my ability to like set the right culture, lead people the right way, so that they can show their best selves, and like hopefully I can continue to do that.
You know, you've been saying so many times in which, you know, the process and the goal is to, you know, win various titles. You guys have definitely been on the road, fulfilling each step, in each phase of the year. I mean, in a lot of ways, people can kind of like, amidst their continued success, can gain that confidence. And I know you've been very reserved, very humble, very, you know, conservative regarding your confidence and all that stuff. Still, though, you know, when it comes to being a part of this team, do you also like get that, you know, increase of confidence, that increase of like, hey, saying, I got these players surrounded, I'm surrounded by these kinds of players. I mean, of course we're gonna do all right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I just have high agency in myself, So like no matter what the situation is, like what like I believe I can do something about it. Whether that's like really true or not, but it's just a really good mindset to have. Um, like it's very easy to think about like, damn, like we don't have enough to be number one in um Americas because we failed twice, right? And then we win our kickoff, like, oh damn, we don't have enough, like these players aren't clutch enough or whatever to win that Masters Bangkok trophy. But like that's just a poor mindset to have, and you always try to push yourself to figure out new solutions. Try to work with the players and try to figure out ways to help them be the best versions of themselves in the server, especially. So yeah, I mean, like, but yeah, at the same time, like I'm aware of the accomplishments. Like it's not like oh, it's not me. Like of course, like I have a big part of it. And I think there's something to said about having a back to back. The reason why it was so hard, it's so hard in general in this game, is because the meta shifts so much. And the first kickoff win was us figuring out the meta first, and then we were able to mop a lot of teams. Um, Sentinels was the only other team, like they were actually a scrim partner, to also like hop on board, and they played a really close grand final, right? Um, and we took that, and then now in stage one, right before the tails nerfs and like new map pool, whatever, like this is late stage meta, and it's also a different skill to win those type of trophies. So like I'm a big esports nerd and also a sports nerd. Like I know how these like metas go. Like what stage of the game is it that this team won, and yeah, it's like so you can put some of these victories in context, right? So I would argue like this is harder. And I have confidence in that in Masters Toronto when the meta shifts again. Yeah, we people online were saying like, wow, we were carried by Teo, but like I've always done well in every meta, and especially with this team because they're so receptive to my ideas. Um, like we'll be fine in the next meta, and we'll figure out ways to beat other teams, and we'll show people what's up in Toronto. Hopefully, a really good showing, and maybe we surprise more opponents.
Well, at the very least, I'm very glad to have your team represent Americas as the number one seed one more time, and hopefully you guys are able to continue this momentum into Toronto and Canada and representing the entire region proudly. So, Josh, job well done on the title. Congrats once again over the victory, and of course, best of luck goes to you in Canada.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Always enjoy these, Pedro.
Thank you so much, man. Have a good rest.